think it's interesting when we talk about history, our Black history here in America and what our journey has been. And it surprises me how much people don't know. Even though we all had, the general history class, it starts with slavery, then it goes to the civil rights, and then present day. And I'm sure Barack is in there now. But there's a lot that happened in between that. There's a lot. And I think a lot of times when I have conversations with people online or just in public, that comes up. Like when I present certain issues like redlining, a lot of people have no idea that this actually happened. So it doesn't surprise me that a lot of people's reaction when we talk about systemic racism, they're not aware of it because they don't know the history of Black people in America. They don't know that literally there were laws put in place to keep Black people from getting certain loans and to be able to move into a house, move into certain neighborhoods. And there's a lot that comes with that. When you move into a certain neighborhood, there's certain schools your kids are able to go to because it's based off of property tax, based off of the schooling, the funding for the school is based off of that. So if you can't move into this neighborhood with these good schools, that affects your education. And if you don't have good education, you can't go to school. You can't go to college. If you don't have a degree, you can't get a good paying job. It's a trickle down effect. And then you can't pass on this generational wealth because to own something, to be able to pass on this wealth. So there were years where we weren't able to take advantage of that. And we were moved into certain neighborhoods with lower income jobs and became a lower income neighborhood. It's a trickle down effect. And I think people's inability to connect those dots and to say that something traumatic happened to this race of people, there's going to be some fruit from that. You can't just say that we have these 400 plus years of slavery and then the Jim Crow era and then systemic racism and say that there's not going to be some type of impact from that. The history on these things needs to be taught better here in America because listen, these things happen and it would make sense for a lot of the pain that a lot of our brothers and sisters are feeling if you knew the history and what we went through. And I think a lot of times what happens is in history, because it is such a shameful thing, they try to downplay the actual impact and the trauma and the sheer terror that slavery was. Think about this. You come to a land that you're not from and you don't speak the language. You're being forced to work. Your family's being ripped apart. You're being tortured. There's rape involved. All this is happening for years and you have no recourse. You can't tell me that's not going to have some type of traumatic effect passing down, something that traumatic. So I think because it is so shameful, they try to downplay it. And I get it because it is a shameful thing. But I think to not talk about it is even more shameful. And I think it's even more hurtful in the long run. We have to be brutally honest with what has happened here in America and what the Black experience has been, because that's the only way to move forward. If you don't own it and move and actually take responsibility for it, you can't move forward. You can't just push it under the rug and say, hey, forget about it and move on. There has to be a conversation. There has to be accountability and the knowledge has to be put out there.